Good day and welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Looking back on round two, my name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. And round two, what a game! What a round it was! What a lot of games that we had, and some surprising results and some close games.
It was. We had a couple of close games, and then we had a few blowouts. I think larger margins than we expected in some of those games. So it was a really interesting round two.
Yeah, it definitely was. The first game we'll talk about. We did speak about this team about sort of they probably needed to play round one to get an idea of where they're at. I'd hate to think what it'd be like if they actually had more practice heading into this game, because they Diggers Rest taking on Broadford and kicking over 40 goals on their home deck on Saturday afternoon.
It was, I think, obviously we spoke about Diggers Rest, and I thought they'd come out firing having missed round one, and I think we'll talk about Romsey a little bit later on. They struggled having missed round one, but Diggers Rest didn't miss a beat, and they don't have their full side either. They had 5 first gamers, including a 16-year-old, play on the weekend, and they kicked 45-18 to 288 to 3-3-21. So it was an absolute demolition. I think they had 12 scorers on the day. Mark Freeth kicked 9, Cam McCabe kicked 8, and you've got Brent Tuckey, who's come back to the side, kicked 6. So that's a handy inclusion there that we hadn't spoken about for the Boroughs. So really good first up performance from them.
And you mentioned the first 2 goal kickers; they're small forwards as well. So 17 goals. And Cam actually plays more on a wing, and so to get 17 goals out of your two smaller players out of 45 is a pretty good effort.
Exactly, and obviously Tuckey's a bigger one. You're missing Luke Smales, still has to come back into that side as well. They have plenty of inside 50s, so you would have had guys rotating through that forward half and changing around, and probably midfielders running into the 50 as well. So they've got a lot of options, and that's what we sort of found about the Boroughs last year. They had different guys leading their goal kicking every week, and it's probably something we'll see again this year.
Not all doom and gloom there for Broadford, because they kicked 3 goals for the game, all in the first term, so they started strongly, so they could take a few positives out of that, and it's just a shame that they couldn't go on with the job.
It is, and obviously some of these younger guys are getting experienced against those top sides, learning what they have to do to take that next step. So it is a lot about development for Broadford this year again, so they'll take that and learn this is what we've got to do to take that next step.
Now, one of the games that are around, there are 2 big games that did happen over the weekend that went down the wire. But it was Wallen 126 defeating Riddle 14-15-99. The great thing about this contest is that there was more than 3 goals a margin in at 3/4 time, and the Pies kicked 10 goals in the final term and to come away with a really big 27-point win.
Yeah, that was the difference in the end, was that final quarter. The Magpies ran over the top of the Bombers quite easily. As you mentioned, it was 10 goals to 2 in that final quarter. So there was a lot of positives for the Magpies coming out of that. I think the Bombers would be a little bit disappointed. They're now 0-2, traditionally slow starters, and they're finding that way again. So obviously probably some positives out of that for both sides, but Wallen would be pretty happy with that win.
And I know Dan Nolan, having been in touch with him during the week, that's the best win that he's been involved with as a coach, and I wouldn't be surprised as a player as well, given that they were up against a red-hot side, and they had a point to prove. It was only sort of 12 months ago that they did lose one of their mates, Barney, and they did play the Bombers in round 2. They come away with a win there. So to be able to beat Riddle twice is fantastic, given that they haven't had success against them for a long period of time. And to do that on their home deck, and Josh Barber, absolutely sensational. I think there's just a lot of great things going on at Wallen this time around.
It is, and obviously for them wanting to make finals this year, you need to beat sides so they're going to be around the mix, and Riddle is obviously one of those teams.
Yep, fantastic. And what can we say about the Bombers? Two losses in a row, that's pretty concerning.
It is, and obviously they've got a big match coming up this week as well. So for them, but they started slow last year. Yep. They had a terrible start last year. I think they were 0-2 last year, and I think they were 1-3. So they had a really tough start last year and were able to build. So hopefully that's the case with the Bombers again. They do have a lot of talented players. It's about just getting it all together. And you look round one, they only lost by under a goal. Yeah. So they haven't been completely out of it.
A game that certainly caught everyone by surprise. It was Rupo 25-8, 158 to Romsey 5-8-38. We knew Romsey were probably going to go in a little bit underdone, having not been able to play that game in round 1. But that sort of margin, that is frightening.
It is, and I don't think Rupert's would have expected it, and I don't think we did. I think from what I can gather, Romsey hadn't had a game for 5 weeks. Their last practice match was 5 weeks ago, so that really hit them hard. Obviously, Diggers Rest came out firing. Romsey struggled a bit. Speaking with Newcastle, he said the game was probably closer than what the scoreboard showed. The Redbacks put on a lot of pressure all day, but in the end the Sharks were too good, and they're another side that's still got several really good players to come into that team.
Have we seen the best of Rupo already, or there's still room for improvement?
I think there's still room for improvement. Obviously, you've still got a number of key guys to come back in, and they're building. Their focus is come the end of the year, they're looking to go one better than last year.
Macedon unfurled their 2017 senior premiership flag on the weekend against Lansfield, winning 19-19, 133-2-2-14. Probably a result that we weren't surprised about.
Yeah, it was exactly what we expected. You've got the reigning premiers against a side that struggled last year, and the Cats did what they had to do. It was a 100-point margin, but it wasn't massive in the context of what could have been. Obviously, we compare the Diggers Rest Broadford margin, which is similar there. But the Cats got over the line. You had Chris Kilmarson kick 7, so he started the season really, really well, and the Cats are doing what they have to do.
And Lansfield probably they're not as. They've still got some positive signs in that lineup too. They're still getting used to gelling. Probably haven't like Romsey haven't had the time to play a lot of footy together as a group, and they'll take time to gel. And I think they showed a lot of positives on the weekend.
It is, and obviously they've brought back a lot of local guys to the club, and that was the thing for them this year, was to get local guys back into that club, help that rebuild, and then the next 2-3 years they can look to launch to that next level.
Sunbury Kangaroos jumped on the winners list for the first time in 2018 with a 161-9 win over Rockbank. The Kangaroos celebrating good old Matty Welsh's 250th game, and they did it in style. He kicked a few goals as well to celebrate the occasion.
It was, and from what I've been told, just the second player to play 250 games for the Kangaroos, so a massive milestone out there. Martin could have been quite a lot bigger. Sunbury kicked 23-23, so you've got that obviously tough start for Rockbank as well. They've just got to keep battling on and get positives out of every single game. They've just kicked 2 goals across 2 matches, so very tough start, but they've just got to build on what they're doing and make sure they're getting the basics right for that long-term future.
Definitely a bit of development there, but for the Kangaroos to have 46 scoring shots, given that the punters probably didn't have the greatest expectations of them at the start of the year, but they pushed Rubo in round 1, and they were outstanding there. Anthony Layden's doing some great things down there at Borden Reserve.
Exactly, and you look at, as you mentioned, round 1, they pushed Rupert's Wood for that first half. They play the footy they played in that first quarter. They'll push every side in the competition. So there is some good signs, and they do still have a lot of that group there from last year, and they've still got several premiership players among that side as well. So there is still a lot of experience, and they're just bringing through some of those players who have been in the 18s, who have been in the successful reserve sides as well, coming through. So there is a lot of good signs down there.
Speaking of good signs, Melton Central showed a lot of good signs in their loss to Woodend Heskett on Saturday night football. The Hawks winning by 15 points, 89-74. For mine, watching the game live, Centrals were the better side on the night. I think for most of the game, it was just quite an inspiring performance by them and the Hawks. They come back in the last term and sort of did what they had to do, but as a bit of a cliche, but I think the Centrals were electrifying. They were red hot to every contest, and when you got Dylan Weir up forward kicking big bags of goals, they can be pretty menacing when they are on song.
Exactly, and I think Centrals probably come away disappointed they didn't get the points. 12 months ago they managed to get over the Hawks when they were the underdogs there, and they had a real hot chance to do that on the weekend again. If they had done that, they start 2-0 and knock off a side that everyone's sort of expecting to be on the rise this year. For the Hawks, these are the games they need to win. And this is the difference between them playing finals and not playing finals. If you're dropping to matches to sides that are down the bottom of the ladder, you're going to struggle to make finals. So it was a game they had to win. Yeah,
definitely. Tom Gawthorpe outstanding in the final term. He took 2 contested marks in the forward 50 and kicked goals from that swayed the momentum, but they were down by as much as 3 goals for a lot of that second half, and they were able to sort of come back fighting full of strong. But disappointing with Dylan Weir. He was sent off the ground late in the game at a very crucial part of the game where there was only 1 goal the margin at a crucial stage of the contest. So and he was marking everything that was going his way and kicking straight. I think he kicked 6 goals, 1 for the night. Was amazing.
And I think he kicked 5 goals in round 1.
Correct.
So that's 11 goals in 2 weeks. He's really had an impact in this competition stepping in. So if he ends up getting suspended after being sent off, it's going to be a big loss for Centrals there because he's provided a real target up forward for them.
Spot on. And before we wrap up, we've got one big game that does take place tomorrow at Tony Clark Reserve. Love the rivalry between these two sides to kick off the to round 3 action. We do have Macedon playing host to Rupert's Wood at Tony Clark Reserve. This is going to be a great game. From all reports, the weather is going to be pretty good. So I think it's 20 degrees in Melbourne, which means it'll be like 8 or 9 at Tony Clark. But it should be a fantastic day.
I'm glad I'll be in Melbourne with that weather like that. But obviously it's a massive match. Anzac Day always has a lot of atmosphere between these two teams, but it takes another level this year where it is actually the grand final rematch. So Macedon probably has had the wood over Rupert's Wood the last couple of years. They've won both the Anzac Day clashes. Macedon Basildon won all 4 matches between the sides last year. So you've got the two teams, obviously, there have had some good battles. They were all pretty close battles last year, but the Sharks weren't able to get the job done. So I think this for them is one to get over the line and to get over the Cats and have a win against them.
Definitely right. Your tip for this one?
I tipped the Sharks this week.
Yeah, I have tipped the Cats to win this one, so they'll clearly go down the record books as that. I think they'll be just a tad too strong, but hey, it's going to be a great contest given how Rupo played on the weekend. I think it's just going to be one for the ages to watch.
Exactly, and I think while we're talking about the Sharks, we better mention that they've got one of their players trying to take your job on this footy show.
Oh, I know. Oh, how good the Shark, the Tank. It is all happening over at the Tank, isn't it? That's good old Lockie Muir. I think I'm going to be out of a job by the end of the season. But how good was that watching that last week?
It was quite good. We obviously talk about a lot of the results and that, but we got an insight to what is happening out there at Rupert's Wood. Sounds like a lot of work on their facilities and some brand new showers, which I think a lot of, not just the Sharks will be happy, but a lot of opposition teams will be happy as well. So a lot of good things happening down there, and they've obviously now got their own football netball show that's going to be on every week. I think they've got their own YouTube channel, yep. RFNC. I think it is. So so obviously another footy show for people to tune into as well.
A bit more competition as well. They get paid the big bucks down there. But I love watching that interview there with Nick Ash, because Ash has sort of been around footy for quite some time. It was really good to watch, just get more of an insight into what he's achieved in footy and what plans he has for the Sharks. So get on down there. Make sure you we'll be having the links right throughout the RDFNL social media pages to direct you to that show. We actually shared the video the other night, and the hits went. I think we got more hits on that post than we did on our actual show, Tara. That is...
We're going to have to lift our game.
Oh, I know. We're certainly going to lift our game. So make sure you check out on that later in the week. We'll look forward to catching up with you later on the week here on the RDFNL Footy Show. Tara, thanks so much for joining us. Catch you then.
Thanks,